Hey, everybody, what is up? It is Tim along with Matt and Carl from KSB. What's up, guys?
Uh, Not a lot.
Not much.
All right,
Just got
tonight's
done celebrating
episode,
my. Oh, go ahead.
we are talking about KSB Wrestling, in particular the Red and White Tournament and Spring Break. What were you celebrating, Matt?
I was just got done celebrating my daughter's early
I tell you
15th
guys, I'm
birthday.
having audio problems. I'll have to talk to you later.
All right,
All right.
all right, it'll just be a two-man
It'd be a
duo
two-man
here.
thing, be a two-man
All
gig.
right,
But anyway, I just got done celebrating my daughter's 15th birthday.
cool.
Um, yeah, she's growing up on me. But yeah, everything's going great. Today, thankfully, I didn't have a lot to do, so yeah, I'm ready to get this underway.
All right. And also, daylight savings time starts today. So, what a perfect time to kick this off and do this. So, okay, for those who are listening or watching, at the Kentucky School for the Blind, every year around this time, they would always start hyping up the annual KSB Red and White Wrestling Tournament.
Yes, this is one of my
And
favorite times of the year, actually. I immensely enjoyed it. Had a lot of good competition with friends. I mean, this was a chance to really kind of, have friendly competition, test your ability out just on your home turf, and just have a good time. So, I mean, it was a great time all around. I like the rabbits, by the way, the chocolate rabbits.
yeah, we'll get to those in a bit. Definitely loved the competition. I loved, just the atmosphere because I knew around this time, it's not only St. Patrick's Day, in which I got a story for that too, and
Sure.
I'm sure you do too. But we were really doing our JV wrestling and varsity wrestling had just wrapped up, and JV was starting to kick off.
That's right. I remember JV first because I was there for JV and some of varsity, not all of varsity.
Oh yeah.
I I admittedly I was going through a rebellious phase in my varsity year, so I kind of didn't get to experience all of it, but I did experience some of varsity, so it was fun.
Oh yeah, varsity was great. I remember my first red and white tournament was 1991. They tried to get me in there to get in there in 1988, 1989 when I first started under Coach Kenny Jones. Remember him?
I do. He was one of my first coaches to actually uh, to train with, and he was a fun guy to train with, and things like that. He was a good coach
Oh yeah, and with
and
me,
a great announcer, by the way. I like
oh yeah,
dude. I mean, dude could do commentary like no one's business. So
oh
shout
yeah,
out to you, Kenny Jones, if you're watching. Dude,
yes.
amazing commentator.
And shout out to Larry Mann for some damn good commentary work too.
Yeah, yeah.
Larry Mann did some good stuff too. Now, with me in wrestling, I kind of have an interesting start. I went and practiced one time or two times. I don't know if I wasn't feeling it. I don't know if I was just not into it. I mean, I was only 5. I thought wrestling was like the WWF that you saw on TV.
I did too. I did. That's what I thought too because I grew up with like WCW before it became
Yeah.
WCW Nitro. So I grew up with
Mhm. Oh yeah,
my
me too.
yeah, like my grandfather used to watch WCW before I got into like WWF. So
Mhm.
I watched the old WCW, and that's how I
Yes.
really got
Yes.
into wrestling. Yeah,
And then, so I'm going in there. Are we going to learn drop kicks and suplexes and
yeah.
headlocks and all
Just to
this?
find out that it was traditional folk style wrestling.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Oh yeah, even better because with that you can defend yourself if needed, and it has a
very
place in
strategic at
MMA.
times. Oh yeah, it very much resembled like judo. Not a
Yep.
lot of judo, but I mean
Hmm.
there was leg takedowns. I mean you had full Nelsons,
Double
half
leg, single
Nelsons.
leg, and
Yeah, I
then you
mean
had,
there was some remnants there of what they use in MMA.
oh yeah,
Um, but it was very just close quarters the whole time. It was just very hands on the whole time, so you never had to guess your opponent.
right. And when I started wrestling in 1990, I was like, I'm loving this. And I'm learning how to defend myself. I'm learning all the moves and all the takedowns and slams and whatnot and all this. So the first tournament hits in 1991. The gym is filled to capacity. The Langen gym, by the way. Bleachers, you remember that, Matt? They were filled to capacity.
I do, and I love the big wrestling mat that we had, or just the big mat in general. But we
Oh, I
absolutely loved the
know.
wrestling mat. Loved it. Did I remember just running laps around the
Hmm.
gym a lot. And I remember one of the last days I was at that school
Hmm.
for my short course program. One of the last things I did there was I ran a lap as fast as I could around that thing, and I loved it. I wish I could do it one more time too. I absolutely
I
loved
know.
it.
I wish I could go back and just visit for the memories. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
just to see the old place and go inside the buildings and reminisce.
yeah. I miss it at times. I really do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So the gym's filled to capacity. And you will not believe who my first opponent was.
Who was your first opponent?
Matthew Thompson.
I remember him. Yes. Yeah,
Yes, Matt was my
watched him
first
talk to him
opponent.
again.
And he didn't put up much of a fight. I don't. I guess was it. I don't know if it was just where he was trying to take it easy on me, or if he just
I
didn't.
just think I just think that training, especially with wrestling, and same goes for cheerleading.
Hmm.
Some people learn slower than others. It takes
Right.
more
It,
time for
it's.
people to. I
Oh
mean,
yeah. You don't
admittedly,
just learn it
I was a
overnight.
I was a slow learner. Like I didn't really get the concept overnight, so it took me a while to get the hang of everything.
Oh
And
yeah.
actually, I have a story involving you. Actually, I don't even know if you remember it, but I think it was
Share it.
95. Yeah, it was 95, 96. And
Hmm. Hmm.
it was you and me, and we were just, you know, wrestling. And I think we wrestled to a stalemate. I don't know if you
Hmm.
remember this, but that was one of the best matches I'd ever had. Was like against
Oh,
you.
I know.
I don't know how old you were, but that was a good match. I enjoyed it.
I was like maybe 12 or 13.
Yeah, it was nice.
Those were good times. And Matt, I beat him in a minute 23. So
Okay.
my hands raised in victory. I shook his hand, and then we went back to the dorm and laughed.
I'll tell you one guy I could never beat is Joe
Who?
Holland. If you remember
Joe
Joe
Hollins,
Holland,
yes. Joseph Hollins,
uh,
yes.
one guy I could never beat was Joe Holland. And
I
I don't
know.
really like to call people out. I don't know if everyone like on the alumni is comfortable with that. So just let us know if that's something you want. Or
Yeah,
otherwise,
shout out.
I can just say friends or something. But
Yeah, Joe Hollins. I remember Joe, and then Joey Couch was another good
yeah,
opponent.
yeah,
Chris
they were good
Domke was a
friends.
good opponent, and then my second opponent in 1992 was Joseph Gotzi.
Yeah,
You remember Joseph Gotzi?
never wrestled Joe Gotzi at all. No.
I did, and I beat him in 23 seconds flat. The
Uh,
whistle blew, then the whistle blew 23 seconds later.
there was a friend that I wrestled. I don't know if I should say names or not. There's a
Yeah,
friend that
go
I
for it.
wrestled. Uh, well, RIP to Brett Domke before I even talk about him.
Yeah.
Um, uh, guy wrestled. We were kids at the time, and every practice. And Rob Mitchell, if you're watching this, you can vouch. Uh, every practice we had, Brett would just dominate. Like it was just a thing that would happen, and I could never get control. And I remember the first, maybe not the first, maybe the second or third red or white tournament we did.
Hmm.
Um, he had me in a pinning position, and I bridged out of it, and I reversed it, and I got the win. And that was one of the coolest things of my life because I was never able to beat Brett. Like he was just like he dominated every time, so that was a cool thing. And then I remember the chocolate bunny and the big I don't
Oh
know if
yeah.
I don't know if you remember these, like the big paper like cardboard plaques that they like with the brackets on them. Do you
Yes, I
remember those?
remember those. I would get those and hang them up on my bedroom wall.
Yeah, those were cool. I like those. Those reminded me of like the basketball brackets that
I
you
know. And then
see
they
on
had the
there.
two wrestlers in the center of it. Oh, I know.
Yeah, that was the coolest thing.
I don't know if I have mine or not. I don't know what happened to them, but I remember very distinctly those chocolate bunnies. We would get them right, and you know how we'd go back to the dorm,
Yeah, yeah, I
and
do.
they wouldn't let us eat them. We had to take them home.
I don't know. I started eating mine at the ears like the night I got to the dorm. I just started
Munching on it.
munching down on mine.
Oh, I took
I
mine home, right?
I was
Because I
so
would go
worried
home the
about it.
night of the tournament. There would be no point in me going to the dorm and then going home the next day. My family
Yeah.
was there. I could go on home and be with the family. So I went home, put that bunny in the fridge, let it get good and cold. So I didn't want to share, right? Because, in my mind, this is my prize. I had to share with my older brother.
You know what I always wanted to do with those is I wanted to like take the head off
Hmm.
and get some chocolate milk and just pour it down the body and drink like chocolate milk
Oh,
out of the thing, which would have been so cool in theory. I don't know how long I would
oh
have stayed,
God.
but I just thought that would have been the coolest idea because I was a big Willy Wonka fan. Still love Willy Wonka.
Oh, I know.
Um,
But you could have put regular milk in that, and
oh
it would have
yeah,
turned to
just
chocolate.
yeah. Well, I didn't even think about that either, but I
It
just
would have
wanted like
turned. It was so rich.
yeah, but it was. It was. But I enjoyed that. I mean, it got us ready for the other like school tournaments that we would go to eventually.
Oh
And I
yes.
think it was more of a proving ground for like the students that were already there, and I guess the coaches could really measure our skill by that too, which was a really good thing. And I remember, uh, do you remember the banners that we used to run through, and like each side would have their own banner, and then they had the
I
Wildcat mascot come out. Do you remember
don't
that?
think. No, I wasn't there for that.
No.
That was after me.
Okay.
When I was there, that each team would come out on a separate side of the gym. We would have our own set of chairs, and
Yeah.
then we would
Yeah.
each be just one, two, three. They would do so many matches, have an intermission, do more matches. Then I think they would have another intermission, and then have the final.
I think they broke it up into like groups too, so they did like weight
Hmm.
groups, and
Yeah.
that's how they did it like in other school competition too.
Hmm.
And then every weight group would have like a first round, a second round, and the finals
Yep. I remember that.
against each weight group, which was really cool.
And another thing that the red and white tournament was tied into was spring break.
Yes, and before we get to the spring break, I just want to say I don't know if you were here for this,
Hmm.
but they eventually renamed the Red and White tournament to the Oaks Red and White tournament.
Yes, the Elizabeth Oaks red and white. Yes,
And
I
I
was there
loved
for
it.
that.
I loved it. I thought that was the coolest thing, and it
Oh
was a
yeah.
good way to remember like such a wonderful woman who I'll
Yeah,
never forget.
R.I.P. to Miss Elizabeth Oaks.
Just an amazing. You want to talk about a
Amazing
woman,
woman, amazing
and
person. I
that
mean,
woman
she
was
was my
just
first. A lot of our first dorm parents.
well. She was like my mom or away from home. She
Oh yeah.
really nailed that for me. Like
Me too.
Was
I
she
mean,
was the right balance without being too strict. She was firm when she had to be. She was
oh yeah.
she taught you like valuable lessons, and I as a kid, you know, you take a lot of that stuff with you as you do a lot of the stuff like with the teachers
Hmm.
and everything else, and you take that into life and apply that with your kids or with your
Or whatever you're
family
doing in
or
life.
maybe your cousins or whatnot, and
Hmm.
it was a great experience with the teachers and the dorm parents. But anyway, yeah, spring break.
Oh yeah, spring. But yeah, well, before we get into spring break, I do want to mention real quick, R.I.P. to Miss Pat Sanders.
Yes, yes,
She unfortunately has been gone now for 10 years, and
that's crazy to think
I
about. It
know.
really is.
When I found out, that devastated me. I'm like, oh crap. But one thing I remember about her with the wrestling was she would push us to be all we could be.
Yeah,
She
yeah. I
would
mean,
push us to be our best and to do our best.
she was a good lady. I mean,
Oh yeah.
she really pushed the boys in her dorm, you know, hard in a good way. I
Oh
remember the
yeah.
first time
Prepared us for life.
one of the first times I ever practiced cursive
Hmm.
was under her, and she made me do it on that chalkboard. Do you remember those chalkboards in the dorms that we used to have?
Oh yes, and we had to practice cursive on those.
We
Oh
practiced
yeah.
cursive, and I remember there's one time, and it might have been just over a series of weeks. Just
Hmm.
um, I don't remember it as well now. I would just practice writing my name in cursive over and over until I got it perfect, and I
Hmm.
still to this day write my name like that. So you know,
Nice.
shout out and RIP to Miss Pat Sanders for just pushing me and
Oh yeah, same here. I mean,
pushing me forward.
she and I remember talking to her in 2004 after I left KSB. I was at the Mac and preparing for college, and I just was talking to her. She complimented me on how grown up I was, and I thanked her for all she did.
Yeah. And while we're talking
So,
about people, while we're just talking about people that
mhm.
inspired us in life, because I know he's on the alumni
Right.
page. Rob Mitchell, if you're watching, I always think about you. You're one of the other few that I really admired. Um, you were probably one of my favorite coaches, if I'm being honest. And you really pushed me hard, even when I was going through stuff in my seventh, eighth grade year. I was just going through stuff, didn't want to talk about it. But you really pushed me. You made me who I am today. So shout out to you, sir. Thank
Yeah,
you.
shout out to Rob Mitchell. I had him not only as a JV coach, but I had him as the assistant coach on varsity, and
Yeah,
it's just good times.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
remember with JV when that would be over, we would have either a cookout or a pizza party, and Rob went all in. We had Papa John's, Cokes.
We did. And I remember there's one time we were hanging out in the dorm there, and Rookie of the Year comes on, and we have pizza. And I remember that one of the first times I think I ever had garlic butter,
Mhm.
and I had so much garlic butter with my pizza, and I still
Oh,
love
I
garlic
know.
butter to this day. But yeah, I had so much garlic butter. It's so good.
I know, just the good times. So the red and white tournament led into spring break. So
Yeah.
that meant the year's almost over, but it's not quite there, but you're getting close.
Did you get the
And
week
then
off? You
yeah,
wanted to go home to your family and
yeah. Oh
kind
yeah.
of go outside a little bit. I know, I don't know about everybody's family, but our family had like a thing where we went to church every Easter. And we did our own
Mhm.
Easter egg hunt. We did church service. We did the crucifixion and resurrection of Christ. We did
Right.
the play
We did
every
that
year,
too.
and it was a beautiful time of the year for me that I remember. And remember getting the Easter baskets for my mom. Um, I love those Easter baskets. I remember I think this is one year. I don't remember all of them, but there was one year I think I got the Lord of the Rings soundtrack, which was really nice. I enjoyed it.
I remember one year I believe I was 12. Yeah, I was. And Mortal Kombat the movie came out. Mom was like,
Yeah,
"Well, what do you
yeah,
want
dude.
for Easter? You're not, you're too old for the Easter basket. So is there anything you want?" I said, "Yeah, I want the Mortal Kombat soundtrack." I booked up Easter Sunday, and lo and behold, I had that CD in my hot little hand.
Yeah, and that's one of the first CDs I ever had, by the way.
Hmm
It was Mortal Kombat and Shania Twain because I had a crush on Shania Twain growing up. So it was it
In
was
Mortal
Mortal Kombat.
Kombat, unbeknownst to me, was my first introduction to Typo Negative and Fear Factory and all those other bands.
Yeah, absolutely. There's
And
a
I
lot of
would
good
be
techno.
playing it at KSB, right? And just envisioning the wrestling if we had entrance music.
Do you know they eventually well the wrestling team eventually used Mortal Kombat's theme song to come out
Yeah.
to their wrestling tournaments. They eventually used that. And
Oh,
I
I know.
remember
Oh, yeah.
I think their first song they used was Taz's theme from ECW.
Oh, from are you talking about WWE or the ECW version where it was War Machine by Kiss with him on
it was
vocals?
like the it was like the
The thump, the thump, the thump.
yeah that it was that that's
That
what it
was
was.
WWE. The ECW's was War Machine by Kiss,
Oh no,
but
it wasn't that.
it was Taz doing his catchphrases.
Okay, yeah, no, it was WWE's version, and that
Of
was
course,
one of
that
the
would have been
first.
cool if it would have been ECW, but
It was
they
one of the first songs they ever used, and then they switched over to the Mortal Kombat theme, which was really cool.
nice,
Yeah.
nice. And but what I would envision in my mind would have been if each wrestler would have had their own music. Like we would have been positioned on the separate side of the gym, right? And this is how I envisioned it in my mind as I'd be listening to music. We would each be on our side of the gym, right? When it would
Yeah.
be time for us to go up, they would pair us, get us ready to go. And then one person's music would hit, we would walk out. The other one would walk out, their music would hit, and then we'd do the match as normal.
That is a neat idea, and I had kind of a thought similar to that
They could have done
when
it
I
too
was
because back then they weren't broadcasting it on YouTube or
when I
none of
was there
that, so
as
they could
well.
have got away with it.
I had some thought like that.
Hmm
And
What was your thought?
the grueling practices, and then the going down to Rob Mitchell's office to get juice, like every evening, we would go and get juice.
Oh yeah, we had to do the juice run.
Yeah, we had to have the juice after like every
Oh
practice because
yeah, we had the
really
juice. We
nice.
had to have the juice,
Yeah,
and I
and I
remember it very
remember
well.
and there was one time in the year where that was going on, and then like you had swimming going on at the same time.
Yes.
And that was so brutal. If you were like in the middle of both of those at the same time, and then
Oh, I know.
you were studying, doing your work. If you were in the work program on top of that,
Hmm Oh yeah, it was
and
a brutal
then
schedule.
you were hanging out with your friends on top of that, it was just ugh,
It was a grind, and they tried
it
to
was.
get me to join the swim team, but I didn't do it. I was like,
I loved. I remember.
not
uh,
there was no way in hell they were going to get me in that
just,
curl pool.
just don't ever swim with a t-shirt on is all I can say because
Mistake.
uh oh it was,
But that
that's all
was
I'm gonna
hell out
say.
of that pool. So okay, now the practices, yeah, those were grueling. I mean, on the JV level, there were some things you didn't have to do that you had to do on the varsity level.
Yeah,
Remember how on the
especially if
JV
you were
level you didn't have the
especially if you were
6 minute
at a
matches?
yeah well especially if you were at like a certain weight class
Oh,
and
I know. It.
you had to be
Mhm,
down like a certain weight and you had to either
yeah,
work out more to get rid of it or you were
or
just in a weight
fast.
class. Yeah.
Now, what I hated was I never had to do this myself, but when they would make a team member fast and they had to skip like breakfast and lunch, I'm like, how
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the hell can you do that?
I think it's healthy fasting. I mean, a lot of
It
people
might
do
be.
healthy fasting. I mean, I think there are good ways to do healthy fasting.
Oh yeah,
Eating like proper foods. I mean, you can
right,
do like a protein thing.
right.
You can do
I
low.
think
You
that's
can
what
do
they did.
low carb. You can do a lot of. And I've tried a few. So they're not as bad as we
What they
thought
make it out to be.
when we were growing up.
Yeah,
They're
when
just
we were growing up, we
it's
hated
all in
it
your
because we
mind.
couldn't eat the junk food.
Yeah, it's just all in your mind. It really is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, and then on the practices, the JV practices were good because we learned the basics. We learned basic, but when we got into varsity, that's when we not only learned the basics, but we learned about 6 minute matches, conditioning,
Yeah, and you had to
dieting.
have it. You had to have endurance for those 6 minute
Yes.
matches.
Oh yeah. I remember. I have a story. I had to wrestle Jamie Gregory. For those of you who don't know, Jamie Gregory was a KSB student. He graduated, I believe, in 1997 or 98. And Jamie and I would always wrestle, and that man could go no slouch.
Some
Um,
people had the endurance for it, and I even want to go back and
no, when
to
you were
do.
against Jamie Gregory, Jamie G, as we called him, you were gonna need to be in for one hell of a fight because he could go.
I
I
would
mean,
like to go
there would
back,
be
and I know that
times I would be blown up after wrestling him.
I know that some people have touched on this on Facebook, but going back as an adult and doing like a wrestling match just to see if I could still do it,
Oh, I
because
know. I would love to just to see if I could.
yeah,
I mean, I've got certain reasons for I
I
had
know
to bow
I
out of
work out
wrestling,
even
but
to this day. I keep myself in shape. I think I'm in pretty good shape.
I would love to
I
see if I
don't
could go.
I can't measure it in any way unless I just go through it. But I do work out every
Mm,
day after I get
mhm,
off of work. I try to, and I work out a lot more on the weekends. But
mhm.
I'd like to know if I can still do it. And I know
Yeah,
that
I
there's a
would love to
lot.
know if I could still go. I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
you know, we're older now. We've got stuff. So with me, I did have one varsity tenure, and my last red and white tournament was 1996, or no, it was 1997. And in that tournament, I wrestled in this order: Chris Domke, we went the distance. I won by decision.
Okay.
Joey Couch, I won by pinfall. And my roommate at the time, Daniel Johnson. And
Yeah.
I won by pinfall with him too. And he told me later on, he said, Tim, if my shoulder wouldn't have been injured, you wouldn't have got me. He said, but you did a good job.
That's good. That's good sportsmanship, and I think that's
And
what a
the
lot of
thing
people
with
need to
Chris, I
learn.
think he was just so wanting to win and that
Well,
thrill of winning.
I think
When
that's
he
what a
found out
lot
he
of
lost, he was devastated.
well, I
But
think that's what a lot of adults need to learn and
mhm,
teach their kids is how to be able to lose gracefully, like how to take a loss, just with grace. Shake your opponent's hand or whatever you're going through, whatever competition, um, and just lose them with dignity. Walk away and
well, I think he
come back.
freaked out because he didn't know what
Come
his
back and
family would
win.
think. I think he may have just freaked out in his mind
I'm not even talking about
because
like
later he
this
told
sort of
me
thing. Just like
that,
teaching your kids in general.
oh yeah, the reason why he flipped out was because they put the pressure to win on him and he lost. And then another one that really really hit home. I wrestled Jason Wardrop, and I
Mhm.
just about
Yeah,
had him, but he beat me.
I remember him. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There was a guy, well, it was a boy at the time. I
Mhm.
can't remember his name. I think it was he was from the Indiana School for the Blind.
Mhm.
And first time I wrestled him, it was an easy match. Beat him easy. And then I came
Mhm.
back, I think my middle school year, I think it was seventh grade. I'm not sure
Mhm.
entirely.
Mhm.
We had that rematch, boy, and he gave me a run for my money. Ended up beating me, and that was a hard loss. That was he got his revenge. So I mean, that goes to show,
But
you know.
he improved,
Growth.
and you improved, but he just was the better man that day. Now I
Yeah,
remember my match at ISB. I wrestled a guy named Dustin Lewis, and I remember this to this day. He beat me. It was his turf, but I lost gracefully. And I remember several years later we connected on social media,
yeah.
and I asked him, "Hey, do you remember our match?" And he goes, "Yes, I do."
There you go.
So, okay, spring break. I would go home and I would just kick back, play video games, listen to music, and if the teachers gave us any homework, I wouldn't worry about it till the weekend before I had to go back.
And I think that was so seldom that
Oh
because
yeah,
I never remember getting homework on spring break. I
I
never
don't remember it
didn't.
either. I mean,
But I was more of an outdoorsy person. I did have a console, and I did like to game, but mainly it
mhm.
was me and my sisters. We would be outside, either helping our parents around the house, or just climbing hills. Or we live out here in the country.
In the
We would be
country.
just in the country. We would just we get into some stuff. We would bike around our neighborhood. Um, it was a good time. It was really we had a great time.
Oh yeah. I know. Like I remember, the one thing I loved was I could watch wrestling Monday Night Raw and not have to worry about missing it for that one Monday. And then, because I knew after that I would have to go back to school for a few more weeks,
Yeah.
for until summer, which we're gonna do a summertime episode. Believe me.
Oh, it's coming. It's
Oh yeah,
coming. We have
it's
a few more
coming.
months. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and and then St. Patrick's Day too. I have a kind of a funny story about St. Patrick's Day I want to share since we're going to into that here
Sure.
real soon. I remember one year I forgot to wear green. I got pinched. I was like, you. Well, I won't repeat what I was thinking, but it
Do
was
you
quite
remember?
colorful.
Do you remember the Shamrock cookies and like Shamrock shakes that we would make
Yes, those were the
in
bomb.
school? And they would make around that time we would always make the cookies, the shakes, and
Yes,
we would celebrate every holiday too. And they were very
I would
creative
love to
teachers.
get that Shamrock Shake recipe and make one of
Yeah,
my own.
teachers were very creative. Uh,
Oh yeah.
I ate a lot of raw cookie dough. I
Oh
mean,
yes.
I ate it baked and I ate it raw. So I mean, it didn't
Oh
matter. I
my
mean, it was
God,
all
I know.
sugary.
But
It was all good.
sugary, good, and it got us hyped up.
It
So
did, dude.
yeah, what was your? Do you have any memories of being pinched on St. Patrick's Day?
I don't. I mean, if I was, I don't remember. I
I don't
really
remember.
don't.
I mean, I remember I did get pinched because I wouldn't wear green, and I do kind of have a modern story for everybody. One year, I was sending a message or a post on social media. Remember to wear green for St. Patrick's Day for work. Otherwise, you'll get pinched. So I dictated it, and it came out punched. So I guess according to Siri and dictation, if you didn't wear green on St. Patrick's Day, you ran the risk of getting punched.
You're gonna get punched. All right. And would have been cool is if they had like a big punch bowl. Is they brought you
I
out a punch
know.
bowl, had you a cup instead of like actually just changing it
punching
up
you.
instead of thinking you were getting a punch, say
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and this is like, this is me and my bad puns. Is like, here you go, you're gonna get punched.
Yeah,
It
you're
was
gonna
like
get
green
punched.
punch.
I'll hand him a cup of green punch that
It
may or
was
may
green
not be
punch.
spiked.
It's like, here, sir, here is your green punch. Here you
Yeah,
go.
it may or may not be spiked.
Well, we're gonna say it was
It was,
unspiked. It
yeah,
was unspiked.
unspiked. Okay.
It was regular punch.
Yeah, green punch. That would be cool. But
Absolutely.
memories like that, though. I mean, that's the thing about KSB that I remember. And then after the 1997 wrestling red and white tournament, that was my last ever wrestling match because due to unforeseen issues at the time, I had to stop wrestling.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it sucks. I mean, I think about it to this day.
I will say I had a kind of a tradition I would do before every
Hmm.
red and white tournament. Is
Hmm.
I thought to myself, if I because we always had these recitals every year before the red and white tournament. We
Oh
always
yeah, I remember those two.
And I thought to myself, if I play these recitals absolutely perfect,
Hmm.
uh, and then there was a little a place beside the gym. It was like
Hmm.
a little uh, you know those little parking bumps there that kind of cars park at. Only
Yeah, I
this one
remember
was
that.
huge. This one stretched across the Evans parking lot.
Yeah, I
And
remember that.
I would walk it after every recital. I'm like, well, if I can do these two things perfect, I will win. The red and white. And I did it for 2 or 3 years. And I ended up winning like 2 or 3 years in a row. And I remember there was one year where what was I playing? I was playing Humoresque, and I bombed. Like it was turned out horrible. I'm like, well, I'm gonna
Oh,
lose this tournament. I'm gonna lose it. I go and I win anyway. So that was cool. It was neat.
I remember one year I was in a play called "The Little White Rabbit That Wanted Red Wings."
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
the narrator for that.
yeah.
I
You
had
were the
the
narrator.
crappiest
There
narrator
was
voice.
there was a few. I think it was you and was it you and James Weedman who were the
Me,
narrators, but
I did one, and Jamie narrated one.
yeah, you all switched, and then there was like the animals, and I'm trying to think of who all did what. Like
Abby
I
was
think it was
Mrs. Puddle Duck.
well, there's two of them, weren't there? Like was it just Abby that was?
Uh,
I don't
I don't
know. Like
remember.
with the butterflies, there was two butterflies. It was like Jennifer and Jenny did the
Yeah,
butterflies. Me and Tim Martin did the squirrel.
yeah.
What
But
else
by
was
the way,
there?
R.I.P. to Tim Martin too.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah, he's been gone
Absolutely.
now 4 years.
Respects. But I do remember that play. I
Oh
wish I
yeah,
had video of it. I actually
I
wish I had
know.
video of all our plays that we did. If anyone has those,
Digitize those and put those on YouTube, please.
and well, YouTube or just post it on our alumni
Alumni on the KSB
would
alumni
would be
group,
amazing.
so we can, because we got to preserve this history. And
We need the audio.
I don't know if they can do this, but I would love for somebody from KSB's past who might have it. Old red and white tournaments.
Yeah, or old
Post
like
that on
meets that we
YouTube
would
in
go
their
to.
entirety so we can go back and watch these. Preserve the history of KSB.
Yeah, put
I
all
mean,
this stuff
because,
on there so I can binge everything in a day.
yeah,
Just
I would binge the hell out of it.
so I can just sit and just binge. Like I'll find a
Yeah,
day. I will
get
find a
the
day where I'm not
appropriate
doing
snacks.
anything.
Just
But
get the
yeah,
snacks I would need.
I will get a
Granted,
Subway
updated.
salad with everything in it, and I will binge that sucker all day. Like all
Yeah,
the
buddy.
KSB yearbooks, the
Yep,
tournaments, the plays,
yep.
whatever
Just
you
put them
got.
out there. So if anybody's got the footage, hook up with Lonnie Swafford and let him digitize it and put it out there for us
Yeah.
so we can preserve KSB's history and the lineage of KSB and the legacy of
Yeah, because I
KSB
know there's a
sports.
lot of families out there that would love to see, their kids that if they had memories of them and they had went there and they lost some stuff, that would be. I
Oh, I
remember
know.
when I seen the KSB yearbooks on there, I flipped out. Like
I know. I'm like, oh,
I'm like I have not had these, and I asked I asked someone for those a long time
Mm.
ago, and nothing
Now
ever
we got them.
happened. And I binged those in a day too, so that was how much
I know. I need to get up there and just have a KSB binge.
that was fun.
And just, this weekend coming up, I may or may not be able to, but ASAP, I'm going to binge that.
You should. It's a good
I'm
time.
going to. But, I mean, with the red and white tournaments, get those on there.
Yeah, if
From
anyone
like
has
the 60s and
anything, or
70s.
even the like the Junior Olympics or the track
Yes,
meets,
those two.
sprints, whatever you have, field
Now
trips.
known as the Bill Rugby Track and Field Games.
Yeah, those were. I love those. I love
Oh, I
those.
know. I remember those. We would get free Subway, Cokes.
There
Heck
was a
yeah.
a year I remember. I think it was my first or second Junior Olympics that I was in, and I was so tiny that they
Mm-hmm.
fit me in a shirt, and the shirt was so big that
Mm-hmm.
it came down to my knees. And so
Oh,
I
Lord.
was in this Junior Olympics the whole time with like just a shirt hanging down to my knees the whole time.
Oh,
That's how small I was. Yeah.
I remember. I think I had a shirt from like 1987. I'm like, oh, wow.
Wow. See, I don't
I
have.
know.
It's sad, really. I don't have a lot of KSB memorabilia.
I know.
I
I
have
don't
what
either. I
few
would love to just have
I
that,
have
just for
what few
to
medals
frame
and
it.
ribbons I have. I have the Braille Rider, which I still practice my Braille.
I had the Braille Rider,
Uh,
but I turned it back in. Because I wasn't
it's
getting
not
use
how
of
you
it, so I
work.
just figured might as well give it back to someone who needs it. But I mean, but seriously, if anybody has the footage of these old tournaments, let Lonnie remaster them, or if you can remaster them on your YouTube channels, do that because we got to
Yeah,
preserve
for sure.
KSB's history and legacy.
And that's why we're partly doing this is
Yep, to
we
preserve the
we just
history,
kind
the
of want to
legacy,
we want to preserve the legacy
preserve
and
it.
history, but we also want to get other alumni members in on this. So if
Yes.
you all have the time, we can set up because me and Tim talk a lot about how we're gonna do things, what times we're doing it,
Hmm.
and
Oh yeah.
if you want to get on this, we'll work with you, and we can have a few people on different every week and just alternate. But yeah, that would
Yeah,
be a
just
good
send us
time.
direct messages on Facebook, and we'll work with you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Matt,
Uh,
do you have anything you want to say before we wrap up?
I think this might be this was probably my favorite one that we've done so far.
Oh
I
yeah,
enjoyed this one. Yeah.
me too. And I want to say to the current KSB staff and students, have a great rest of your year. And
Yeah.
if there is a wrestling team this year, which there is, because they had the wrestling conference back in January, and if there is a red and white tournament this year,
Good
go
luck. Go
KSB
out there, give it
Wildcats.
give it your all. Go KSB Wildcats. Enjoy it.
Yes, enjoy. All right. With that being said, this has been another episode of KSB Storytime. Do you want to let them know what's coming up in episode 4?
Were we doing family
Family.
or we're doing family? Okay, yeah, family.
We're going to talk
Okay.
about family and dorm life.
Yeah, fun
So that's
times. I can't
next,
wait to get into that one.
which will be
That one's
the.
gonna get a little deep. That one's gonna get a
Yeah,
little deep.
that's going to be deep.
I'm gonna. It's not gonna be. I'm gonna make a corresponding video because I'm doing Facebook videos on Facebook.
Mm.
Uh, I'm not gonna get all the way into that, but I'm gonna get. I'll talk about my dorm life and stuff.
Yeah, it's going to get. That one's going to get deep.
There's one I'm doing
So,
personally that is
right.
coming up. So.
All right. So that being said, Matt, I want to say thank you for joining me once again for another episode of KSB Storytime.
Thank you for having me, my friend.
You're welcome. And as always, so long, everyone, and peace out.